Hi everyone, welcome back to another 20-minute oil painting demonstration.
Should old acquaintance be forgot and never brought to mind?
And today I've got something extra special for you. We're gonna paint a lit candle, and I'll show you how to do it in the most efficient and effective way I know how. Over the years, I've done a number of paintings featuring lit candles, and there is just something absolutely magical about them. I love trying to capture the effect of that glow from top to bottom. So that's what we're gonna focus on today, focusing on how to paint the flame, how to get that glow, and I'm gonna walk you through it. My best advice for you today is to get a candle of your own and set it up from life. Otherwise, you can follow along using the reference photo that I've included in the description below.
Here's a hand, my trusty friend, and here's a hand of thine.
Here's a shot of my palette after the painting was finished and a list of the colors that I used for today's demo. Here we go. Starting now. Okay, well this is a super fun one and I'm excited to get started on it. I'm going to start with some warm white and some of my cad yellow, because unlike some paintings where I like to start with my darks, in this one I think it's going to be best to kind of start with that glow. And where do I want to put it? Well, just slightly off center. The other thing I want to do is actually shorten my candlestick, anticipating that it's going to be burning down, but also because I want to fit some of that candle holder in my composition. So I'm going to shorten it. Take some transparent oxide brown and a little bit of ultramarine blue and start blocking in my background around where the candle's going to be, but I'm leaving some of the white of the canvas to accommodate for some of the glow that's going to be happening there. Thinning down my paint a little bit with some solvent. I'm going to keep my background really, really simple. When I do these candlelit paintings, a lot of the time I have other elements in them. It's never just a painting of a candle, but this is, for the sake of demonstration. But sometimes it's really fun to have other things in the painting because everything that the light touches changes color in a way based on the light hitting it. So it can be a lot of fun to see how that candlelight affects the surrounding elements. But for now, we're going to just focus only on the candle because, as we know, there's still plenty going on there and plenty to be learned from doing this kind of study. All right, I took some Viridian, some cad yellow, and some transparent oxide brown to mix up a green for that fabric that's in our background here. And we're just going to go ahead and kind of blend that up into the darks that we put in there. And if we're able to get around to putting any detail in there, we might, but as we know, 20 minutes flies by. So it's all about getting in the essentials at this point. Move my canvas just so I can get to the bottom of it here. And drop it back down in the notch. Okay. Our canvas is mostly covered, and that only took a couple minutes. But now that we've got a good glow to our candle, it would be a great time to start honing in on that. Although I do want to kind of get this candlestick holder sort of blocked in. Obviously that is not the shape of it, but I'm just getting some color up there. Okay, clean my brush. Now, this is where we have lots of fun. I'm going to take some of my cobalt violet hue, mix it with my warm white, Let's try some of the warm light yellow in there too. And maybe a little bit more purple. And let's take some of this permanent orange, which is, kind of more on the red side than the yellow side of orange. And we'll test that out here and see how that looks on our painting. It's actually pretty good. I like that. So when I'm looking at the very top of the candle, it appears almost purple to me, especially next to the parts of the candle. As they move away from the light, they get cooler, a little bit bluer, and then compared to the yellow and orange that you might see inside of the flame. So that purple ends up being sort of a transitional color between all of those different color temperatures that are happening. So as we move down the candle stick, let's add some ultramarine blue. Notice I'm mixing it on my palette next to where I had the purple because I want to make sure that it's close in value. I might actually add a little bit of ivory black to that because I want it to be slightly darker. And we're just going to blend that up into that purple. But the value here is really important, that we not get it too dark or too light. Of course, I have another light source in my studio. I have the light that's coming down on my palette and on my painting, and consequently it's putting another light on my candle. So if I were working exclusively just with the candle, it would look totally different. We would have a lot more contrast in our composition, but that is just not going to be the case today, and that's okay. I needed to be able to see what I was doing. Obviously, I have not painted it very straight yet, but having that, all the paint on my background there can be really helpful for cleaning up some of those edges. You can come back in from either side and straighten it up. Now I've actually got some dripping candle wax coming down the side of the candle here, and so that would be an interesting thing to add if I have time. It's very much going to depend on how much I can get done here in the next few minutes. Okay, so we have the start, and let's switch to a smaller brush.
Hey, real quick, if you haven't done so already, make sure that you download my free Mixing Skin Tones Guide PDF. It's 10 pages full of great information and it's totally free. The link is below in the video description.
And this is where I'm going to start to squint. I'm going to really squint down and look at the colors surrounding the flame. And I'm looking at that permanent orange and maybe some cad red here, and putting that in around the flame and sort of blending that in to my dark background that I started the painting with. And look at that. Look at how fast you can transform it into this magical flame. It can happen so fast if you do things in an order that makes sense, that can work. Otherwise, if you don't do it in this order, it could still work out, but for me, this is sort of how I've discovered I can get it up there quickly and with really clean color. So the order that you lay your paint down in really does matter. And I'm slowing down here just to shave in around the top of the candle there. And then I'm going to grab an even smaller brush and hone in on right around the candle wick here. So I'm really slowing down just so that I can get this shape. And this is where we're going to see some blue in the flame. This is the hottest part right here. Remember that from 5th grade science. Haven't actually studied the anatomy of a flame, in a very long time, but I do remember that the blue part of the flame is the hottest, and then the yellow is actually the coolest. Not that it matters in our painting. We just want it to look real. We want it to look accurate. All right, let's grab some more of this yellow, throw that in. I'm just kind of playing around with this up here and then going back and remixing to see if it's actually what I want, because I need it to blend gradually up into that flame. And then the flame actually has a more narrow shape. So let's grab some of that red again and carve into our shape that we created here. I think mixing up the shape is important because it's almost never a perfect, triangle shape. And it flickers a little bit and it moves. It's kind of like a living thing, and so we want to sort of hint at that with the shape of our candlelight here. And give it that nice sharp point at the top. And then this is where you can take a super soft brush. Grab a real soft brush. This one is actually long and skinny too, so I'm holding it and delicately flicking with the brush to soften this edge here. And sort of drag it up towards the end. And if your color gets a little too overblended, you can go back in with your light and bring that back. Which is actually a good thing, because we want to see more paint volume in those lights anyway. All right, let's clean up that glow a little bit. All right, and then looking at the wax where it's melting there, right at the candle wick, which reminds me I need to put in the wick. It's important. Grab some black. Put that in there. And I'm actually darkening around the candle here, but in order to do that, I need to sort of drag that out to elsewhere in the painting so it's not just in that one spot. I just wanted to see a little bit more contrast. Sometimes you can mix up the direction of your brush strokes, give it some variety, make it feel like there's motion, there's energy going on surrounding this flame. Okay, I'm running out of time. I still want to hint at this, the candle holder, and I've got to do it super fast. So it's going to be tricky. Can I give it an ellipse without making it super sloppy? I don't know. I can say I would normally take a lot more time on this than what I'm doing. The candle itself kind of happens pretty fast, but the candle holder, because it's got this ellipse shape, like you really have to get that right and take your time on it. And I'm just not going to be able to do that today. But what I can do is give it some highlight to indicate that it's shiny and that it's metal. And hopefully round. It's actually super dusty, but we don't need to talk about that. Everything in my studio is dusty ever since my studio construction. Okay, and then we'll take the background, paint it up to there to refine that shape. Again, not going to be perfect. That's okay. The point here is to study the most efficient way to paint this candle in 20 minutes. And I think we're doing it. Like I said before, I got to get to that melting wax area, but down to the last few minutes here. All right, so we want it to feel like there's this little concave section here at the top. And in order to do that, we got to use some of our cool colors and juxtapose them with our warm colors. So some of that blue, some of that darker, cooler color is coming in here, right at the rim. And you know what? Let's put in some of that melting wax. Why not? Can just indicate some of those little drips. Ooh, I love it. Let's do this one on this side here. So fun. And there's some yellow kind of bouncing up at the base here. While we're at it, let's play with some of these edges here too. You know, they don't need to all be so the same. So we can soften here and there. Bring some of that blue back on that side. And then I'm going to go back into the top and bring that purple back up in here, because I'm not really seeing it as yellow. I'm seeing it more as that kind of light purple. And if there is yellow in there, it's showing up as a highlight at the very rim here. So we can put that in, pop some at the top of the drip. And a little bit more here at the base. And you know, we've got time. Right, let's finish off that candle holder at the bottom here. Or at least make it look a little bit more symmetrical. Gotta have something holding it up, right? So I'm just popping in some darks. So it's got a foundation. I'm just using Ivory black, transparent oxide brown, and my little soft, short, flat brush here. And then our candle is casting a shadow back here on the fabric. So let's put that in. Could be darker, but I also don't want to draw too much attention to it. And I want to keep the edges nice and soft. Well, there we go. Not too bad for 20 minutes. I love it. I hope you guys will try this. Light a candle for yourself, or if you're still not very confident working from life and you're worried that the candle's gonna burn down too low, light two. You thought I was gonna say work from a photo, didn't you? This is one of those things you've got to paint from life. You really do. It's not the same otherwise. And so I recommend doing this at home for yourself. Burn down as many candles as you have to before you get it. And you're going to find that it's so much fun. Just going to soften this edge. All right, well, there's our candle. So fun.
Hindsight.